How's it going, Mr. Bowen's class? Good to see you guys here on YouTube for our Flip Classroom video. Today, we're going to kind of talk about what life was like in the South in the United States during the 1800s. Last class, we kind of started talking about things with their agriculture, why they kind of were using slaves in the first place, which we know is wrong. But today, we're going to talk about what kind of laws were passed that are actually purposely oppressed Black people in the South before the Civil War is going to start. We know the Civil War is going to change everything, and it's going to lead to Blacks getting equal treatment, equal freedom, eventually over time. But we want to look at what were some laws that were passed. So today there's going to be 3 key points. The first is going to talk about why were anti-literacy laws passed in the South. So look at some of the background, starting with the Nat Turner Rebellion. From there, we're going to look at what were the anti-literacy laws. And then lastly, we'll talk about what were some examples of how these laws actually oppressed Black people in the South. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Starting off with that first key point, we're going to look at why those anti-literacy laws were passed in the South. And it all starts with the Nat Turner Rebellion of 1831. About 60 white people were killed by an African-American slave rebellion that was led by Nat Turner. This led to widespread fear amongst white people in the aftermath of the rebellion. Many slaves and free Blacks were killed due to this rebellion. Turner was educated and a preacher, so Southern states passed anti-literacy laws to prohibit the education of enslaved people and free Blacks. All right, so looking over that second key point, so now we're really going to look at what were those anti-literacy laws. Before the Nat Turner Rebellion, it was common to educate Black children, especially in Christian churches, although usually in separate classes. After the Nat Turner Rebellion of 1831, anti-literacy laws were passed in the South to address the fears that literate Blacks would influence and maybe encourage enslaved people to rebel. A part of these anti-literacy laws said if white people gathered with Black people to teach them literacy skills like reading and writing, they were to be imprisoned or fined for doing so. All right, and we're gonna go over our final key point, which is how did those anti-literacy laws affect Black people living in the South during the 1800s? Since the goal was to prevent Black people from reading and writing, a way the Southern states tried to further prevent Blacks from learning literacy was to demand churches to teach the Bible early so that Black people would not be exposed to written work and practice their reading and writing skills. However, that did not stop some churches from still teaching in a written format. Though there was social pressure put on these churches to stop this practice, there was never an instance where a church was charged with a crime for teaching literacy in Sunday school to Black children. This is a key point in history that we always kind of come back to and we talked about, which is, yes, there's laws being passed. We always want to look at, is there repercussions when someone doesn't obey those laws? If there isn't, then maybe it's part of society that's accepting those laws or maybe even wants those laws. One story that highlights the oppression from these anti-literacy laws is that of Margaret Douglas. She was prosecuted for violating the anti-literacy law when she taught free Black children how to read in Virginia. She ended up being prosecuted and spent a month in a Virginia jail. When she was released, she ended up continuing to teach Black children literacy. These laws would not be overturned until the Civil War was won by the North and the South finally surrendered, which is going to lead to the Reconstruction era, where we're going to restructure the South and get rid of laws such as anti-literacy laws that would oppress Black people. All right, Mr. Bowen's class, till next time. Hopefully you got down those 3 key points. If you missed anything, feel free to go back. If you're someone watching from somewhere else, feel free to like and subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time.